You ready for this?
I suppose. Ready as I'll ever be.
Hello, everybody. I'm Will,
And I'm Kristen.
and this is I'm watching the White Lotus, Season 3, Episode 8,
Amor, Fati.
which translates roughly to
Love of fate.
Love, Fatty.
Yeah, no. It's like about accepting your fate. She said it in the episode. You put some respect on Chelsea's name. So all the way to the end, or?
I think people are going to hate this.
I think
And
so, too.
I want to say that I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I love this show. I'm just by nature a very loyal person. I have loved this season. I liked this episode. We just finished watching it.
Yeah.
I reserve the right to change my mind, to read a couple of think pieces, bask in some memes. You know?
Also, we don't have time to watch this more than once before we do this, so...
I enjoyed this. Is there a place you want to start? Do you want to go straight to the end? Do you want to?
It's just all...
Do you want to start with what you like the most, or go ahead?
Everything's kind of wrapped all together. We could talk about the ladies.
That was my favorite.
They're the most separate.
The girlfriends was
Yeah.
my favorite finale. I was rooting for them the whole time.
Yeah.
I genuinely, people were very quick to give them what for and to judge and all that. And I mean, you know what? They were. There was gossip and there
Yeah.
was bitchiness and all that. But I've said the whole time, I'm like, that's part of just friend groups and
Yeah.
friend dynamics.
I liked the way it was presented in this episode too, because like neither of them managed to get a hold of Lori the night before. She did make it back. Somebody in our comments last week was like, how are we going to find out what happened to Lori? And I was like, her getting in the cab was like her getting to safety. Like, we're good.
You said a similar thing where you're like, the sun came up. That
Yeah.
means we're through.
We're fine. And so but I did really like that they didn't know. And then I also really appreciated and respected that Jacqueline was like, no, I'll go ask her to come to breakfast. She didn't take it personally when Lori was like, I'm just going to keep sleeping.
I liked their little conversation because the implication, and I can't remember if this was actually explicitly said or not, but the implication was that they could talk about it later.
Yeah.
Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't.
Sure.
And as someone, who has a lot of friends and a lot of different types of friends, I've had lots of conversations on, long-term friendships, and there's different schools of thought. There's different, people are different what they're looking for. And, some people have a very, you're my friend, and as such, you should never hurt me.
Yeah.
And some other people
That's unavoidable.
Some other people have a, you know what, I'm going to let this go because you're my friend.
Exactly.
And that was sort of the vibe I was getting, especially from Lori.
Yeah.
And, Jacqueline takes a lot.
Yeah.
She requires a lot. I'll also have it be known she gives a lot. It's
She
seemingly
did pay for this whole trip. But again, that's like very material in a way that a lot of times people don't need that. They need support.
Sure.
But I am with you. There's so much. And especially I think it's like really, it's like an issue with people who grew up on certain kinds of TV, because there's a very like, you're my friend, and so you have to be on my side 100% all the time forever. You can't be anything less than that is a betrayal. And I'm like, let's be for real. Like, be so for real. And so that's the kind of thing that I really like about their friendship. And you're right, it was a very like, we will probably talk about this later, but like it's really dependent on how the rest of the day goes. And so Lori really did seclude herself the whole day, but then they all met up at dinner. And that was like, okay, here's the thing. Hold on. Because I so sincerely thought they were about to just start gassing each other up again. Like, oh, well, it's the end of the trip. Back to status quo. Like, but no, you look amazing.
And I think Kate and Jacqueline would have.
Maybe.
Do you think that's... You're not convinced?
I'm not 100% on it. I think it's certainly a possibility, if not a probability, but I don't think it's a certainty. But I do think they were like, oh, well, Kate was like, thank you so much for paying for this. It was so nice. It was great. And Jacqueline was like, oh my gosh, and she was lying because she was like, I've just been so happy and relaxed this whole week. And I was like, footage not found. Like, you've been so stressed about your husband and your looks and your career and like all kinds of stuff all week, and then you cheated and a whole thing. And I love that didn't come back, that they just were like,
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, no, they just were like, well, what happened in Thailand stays in Thailand. We're never going to tell your husband about that. And the Dave thing, who like everybody,
who was Kate's husband.
Yeah, Leslie Bibb's husband. So,
Dave is.
Yeah. So, and then Lori was basically like,
I've got something to say.
Oh, man. And it was so beautiful, too. And I'm just going to butcher the whole thing. But she essentially was like, I don't have this, like, faith system that Kate has. And I don't have this, like, big, successful, amazing life that Jacqueline has. But, like, we have been with each other forever. Like, from the word go. And she was like, my belief system is just this time that we spend together. That's what makes life worth living to me. And even though they're separate, it's like they always come together. It was so nice.
I cried.
You did. You cried. I was misty for sure. It was beautiful.
Like as it was happening,
yeah.
I like got there just like 1 second before, because part of me was unsure. Part of me was like, is she gonna read them, Jacqueline, especially the riot act?
Yeah.
She could have.
And especially at the beginning, I didn't know where she was going, because she was like, you said you've been so happy this week, and I've just mostly felt sad. And we've seen that. We've seen her feel sad, and also on the outside in a weird spot
in her life.
Yeah.
And you know, we've seen the shots of her watching them in the pool, which again, they invited her.
Yeah, they did. You know? No, they did. She can't be super pissed about not joining them.
We don't know what specifically she's crying about. I mean, we know she was feeling emotional. She was having an emotional response in my opinion, an appropriate way.
100%. No, I didn't think anything about that was out of line.
And also, at a certain point, and again, I don't think that these aren't blanket hall passes.
Yeah.
I don't think that you should be able to hurt people. You shouldn't be abusing or I can't think of the word that I want. Like systemic, like you shouldn't be taking advantage of people. But what's the point of friends and close, good friends if you can't have these moments?
There's this metaphor in one of my favorite books. It's called Summer Sisters. It's by Judy Blume. It's one of her adult books. And basically the character whose point of view it's from is essentially like, our friendship is a tapestry and we can like pull at the threads and everything can still be mended. It's like, but how far can you take it before it's irredeemable, essentially? And I've always really liked that, because I think the test of a true friendship is like getting really mad at each other and like saying mean things sometimes. Everyone kind of needs to do that. And I'm not even saying you need to do it periodically. If you've ever done it and you came back from it and your friendship was the same.
That's what I mean. Like, I'm not talking about systemic abusive behavior, but I'm talking about like, you should be able to be ugly. Like, you should be able to have a raw, vulnerable, real moment. And another thing, and it's something that I loved, especially in this episode, and contrasting it with Lori seeing Jacqueline and Kate in the pool, and we then cut to a shot of the three of them together, like in each other's arms, laughing on the couch. And there's been times in my life, and like people that I know, and this isn't even personal, but it's like sometimes people keep score.
Yeah.
And it's like, ultimately, at the end of the day, what is more important to you? Winning, having the most points, or having somewhere to go and people to go there with? And so it's like, okay, maybe they got in 3 more friend points than you did.
Right.
But ultimately, at the end of the day, you still also got to. Like, you were still also there. And not to, you know, be redundant, or not to keep repeating it, but she's also going through a hard time in her life that would somewhat carry over,
right?
Because that is a theme of the show, is wherever you go, there you are.
And I think that's also something too that's been really interesting about the three of them specifically, is it's like they have been friends forever, since childhood. They seem like they keep in moderate touch with each other, But also,
it does seem like there's a...
They don't know the full extent of what's going on with her. So she's having a bad time, but they maybe don't understand the full breadth of it. Like, we got little tidbits, like something's going on with her kid, and she has to pay alimony, so she's not got, like, a lot of money. I really wish she would have told them that he tried to shake her down for money. I would have loved that.
Well, and also another thing that the show didn't really put a button on, but I kind of think it's important to note is that these women know each other and have been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
They know what they're getting.
100%.
Like,
yeah.
Jacqueline's a vain
yeah.
pain in the butt. They know that at this point.
Of course.
Like, there's a certain amount of given...
I feel like the only new information that we got is that Kate goes to church and she voted for Trump.
But it's like, at a certain point, you know, okay, fine. If I have a friend, you know, maybe I decide that it's worth kissing their ass to get to do some of this stuff.
Oh, my God. Like... I would...
Also, all three of them were so beautiful in this final episode, in the final scene.
That, like, bikini top, that, like, bandeau style bikini top that Kate was wearing at the end. Oh, my God.
I also, like, I saw kind of a behind-the-scenes thing where they were talking about when the show started. The Mike and, like, the cast and crew referred to them as the blonde blob.
I love it.
And they were intentionally supposed to be indistinguishable initially.
Yeah.
And that they really kind of, as the show progressed, started bringing out their individual
own stuff,
traits and styles and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it was really interesting.
Let's do Belinda. You think? High five to Million Angels. She's doing amazing. She and Zion decide to go back to talk to Gary/Greg, and Zion is like, 5 million, please. And
I was nervous.
I was nervous too, because he was like, that's not going to happen. And so basically Belinda kind of bluffed, and she was like, I'm not doing this, and left, and Zion followed her.
I fell for it.
I did too. And she was like, you go back in there and you tell him.
You seal this deal.
Blank, and you seal this deal. And he did. There is $5 million in Belinda's bank account. And to be fair...
I cheered like I got it.
No, amazing. But to be fair, she already had 12 grand. That's like not nothing. Like, congrats on having 12 grand. I don't have 12 grand. That sounds incredible. So then, though, what was actually so interesting, and I didn't even clock it, you did, she went to go tell... She was like, we're also getting the fuck out of Dodge so that he can't change his mind and come kill me anyway. She goes to talk to Porn Chai and is like, I'm leaving tomorrow, which I feel like kind of reflects badly on her, like, work. I mean, I guess if she's going to quit the White Lotus, it doesn't matter, but she was there for like a 3-month
In her defense,
thing.
Extenuating circumstances.
Of course, yeah.
But...
So anyway, he's like, what about, you know, like the business? And you were like, oh, she's Tanya now. That is like, that's tough. He doesn't seem to have really hard feelings about it.
I think his feelings are hurt.
Yeah. Well, sure, but not. I don't think he has like got vengeance on the brain. I'm just sort of like, take your hot
sure.
tie,
I mean,
buddy, get a fiance visa. Like,
I would like to believe this is not the end. I would like to believe
Sure.
they would stay in touch.
Sure.
And that's what I'm gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
But what I like...
Let me look for some fan fiction.
What I liked about it, and this is what I have enjoyed the most about Mike White and this show, is the grace and humanity he gives to his characters.
Oh my God, yeah.
I think a lot of people who watch the show watch it the wrong way. I think a lot of people watch it with that, like, Real Housewives filter where they're here to find the villain and take him down, you know?
And it's not really that.
And in my experience, very rarely are people villains, even when they may be the villain in your story or the villain in this instance. And, you know, the way that we got that scene from Tanya and Belinda initially, I mean, Tanya was a piece of work.
Yeah.
And she was kind of flaky and all that. And I mean,
if I had $500 million, I'd be a little flaky.
Well, also, I mean, her mother was also a piece of work, because that was the whole...
Was she?
Tanya, yeah, she was there to spread her mother's ashes.
Right, yeah.
And I don't think she was set up fully for success.
No,
I mean,
no.
financially, sure,
Yeah.
but...
Not emotionally.
But I really, I like the poetry, because that's a word I've used a lot. I like the poetry of Belinda finding herself on paper in that same position.
Yeah.
Even if
the intentions are not
are different.
Yeah.
And I think that that's how the world works sometimes.
Yeah.
I am pleased. I don't know why I'm Team Gary / Greg. I don't know that I'm Team him. I'm pleased that he pulled through.
Sure.
For me.
As long as season 4 doesn't bring him back to menace another White Lotus worker, then yeah, I'm fine. The thing is like, sure, he maybe probably helped orchestrate the whole thing.
Oh, he got out, yeah.
But
no, he did.
The plan didn't even go through.
Also, yeah, I was going to say she might have had it coming.
Well, I'm not going to go that far,
No,
but it's like the plan didn't even. She was very suspicious, but she started shooting first, and then she fell and hit her head.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But
I'm not saying he's blameless or anything. I'm just saying I do like that we have seemed to tie this story up in a bow now.
I think it's very easy to read in to the TV, the soapiness of this, and assume that the heroes are heroes and the villains are villains, and those villains are going to be Machiavellian. And I like that largely is not the case, because there was a handful, Gary / Greg, also Valentine. Like, I would have been properly terrified of him. And the fact that when him and Guy Talk had that like interaction, he was like, please don't screw me over. Like, he was scared and sad, And I really appreciate that storytelling instinct versus just making him a Russian thug.
No,
who's
for
sure. Like, now you've done fucked with the wrong,
My curiosity is it just because is it just because Russia is Russia? Or, like, did they do something in Russia and they will be killed when they
I don't know.
Go back?
I mean, because also, that's whether or not I was choosing to take him at face value in that interaction. But for all I know, this could have been the 9th different hotel.
Security guard?
Yeah, that they've done this with. Who knows?
Well, yeah, so Guy Talk did not turn him in, it seems like, because the three of them were just partying at the bar still.
Because I was also going to say, depending on how Guy Talk's story arc unfolded, and boy did it, but I was like, it could be beneficial for him not to turn him in.
Sure.
Because having 3 Russian thugs who owe you a favor could also be...
Fair point.
Yeah.
Fair point. Frank was a real mess when Rick left the hotel in the morning. He was...
His teeny little panties.
His teeny little panties were very funny.
I thought he was going to
make him.
Yeah. I really thought he was going to go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it with Rick.
He was just swimming in it. just coke to the dome all night. And Rick was like, I gotta go. Like, I have to get back, whatever. And then at the end, we saw Frank had checked himself in, decided to go.
Well, he gave him a real, like, he was begging him to stay, and he's like, come on, you gotta,
the girls are
you gotta finish that. You're the only one that can get my tits popping right. It was that sort of thing.
God damn it. You're the only one who could get my tits popping right.
Very, very Henrietta Bazoom.
And I do like, in case you haven't noticed, I was rooting for everyone. All these crazy kids. I do like that he seemed to have survived the night and found his way to the meditation
temple,
center. Which, if any of the people belong there.
It might not be the same one, but he was like in a temple praying, which was nice.
Did you finish? Was that all you were saying?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention him so that we didn't forget.
We're at Rick. Do you want to just...
Yeah, okay.
It's my least favorite. I think because it's so cliche.
It really works, though.
It does.
It's like a real Oedipus.
Sometimes
Orpheus.
Classics are classic for a reason.
Yeah. So, and also, I didn't spoil it for myself, but I saw like someone did a TikTok /reel, and they were talking about Chelsea's necklace, which says "Stay Gold" from The Outsiders, and I was like, oh, so okay.
Which again, I mean, she, in my opinion, she's the true tragedy of the show. She doesn't deserve it by any stretch, but I was a little irritated that she never seemed to be paying attention to her own
Well, okay, that is interesting that you say that, but I think she doesn't need to.
What do you mean?
I think she's enlightened. She doesn't really need, she is full up. Like, she's good. She's, like, meeting all her needs. She's doing this. So her, like, the purpose she has found for herself is Rick. And I don't think in a gross way.
Okay.
I don't think in a gross way. I truly think the way that she's behaving.
She's just been Cassandraing herself this entire season.
Yeah.
And
Straight
part of
down
me
to
is
the
like,
jewelry.
part of me is like, take your own advice.
Yeah.
Like, listen to that niggling.
So, okay, in that case, then maybe she has found a false enlightenment for herself. Like, she thinks she's good and her purpose is Rick, but actually she does need to be paying more attention to herself.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a beautiful reunion on the beach. Saxon is, like, kind of annoyed by it. He really just, like, wants her. Yeah, I think he likes her.
We'll get to them, but I was kind of impressed with Saxon.
Yeah. And so he then turns to Chloe and is like, sorry I didn't stay last night. And she goes, it's whatever. I'll find someone else. It won't be hard.
Boy, did she.
Yeah. I mean,
it ended with her talking to some piece at the pool
Yeah.
as Gang Strauss Gary was like, good.
He really was.
I feel robbed of, I want to see it.
Yeah. The other thing, too, is they had such a lovely time at dinner, Rick and Chelsea, and she was, like, doing her patented thing, and she was like, I think we're going to be in each other's lives forever. And he said, that's the plan. And she got so emotional.
Mm-hmm.
It was so nice, and it was so cute. And then I just think, just like a man, to not think anything through. And then I really don't think that you should be having a gun with your emotions running around like that, Rick. So the next morning, obviously, Jim and Sritala come back from Bangkok, and he like, okay, I'm like thinking my thoughts in real time because I'm
fine.
really annoyed by it because, like, why then was Jim being so menacing and rude back? Was there not some sort of plan to then tell Rick?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, he told his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Rick, he is Rick's father.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's very frustrating to me. So basically, he was like, "I knew your mom, and she was a whore." And
your father was a piece of shit.
And she told you lies, and your dad's a piece of shit, which that's fair, I guess. And so obviously Rick spirals out completely. Tries to go talk to Amrita for a session, but she's meeting with Zion. And
Mike White
had
the audacity to try and pawn this off on Amrita. Like, well, maybe if she was
been free,
if she could have taken Rick, none of this would have happened. And I was like, you son of a bitch.
Amrita has been nothing but beautiful this entire time. He's just waiting there on the bench for her to finish up with Zion, and then the Hollingers wanted to take a picture with Jacqueline because they love her show, and it was happening right there. And Jim had flashed his gun at Rick, and so he freaked out, ran up, grabbed his gun, and shot him like three times in the chest. He really did go full Western. Everyone's freaking out.
Well, we joked that the three friends were like, because you were like, they're going to be dining out on this for years.
Forever.
They're never going to.
Oh my God, the last time we went on vacation together, do you remember the shooting? So we actually had multiple deaths. Jim, both bodyguards.
Those fuckers.
Yeah, they're just teasing guy talk again. He got the last laugh, I'll tell you that for free. He's the bodyguard now. And then very, very tragically, both Rick and Chelsea. And Chelsea was caught in the crossfire. Shot right in the heart. Again, right.
I don't know. Maybe I love it.
I think it was very poetic. I think it had to happen. I think the moment that Rick didn't have...
Maybe tried and true. Classics are classics for a reason.
He didn't have control over his emotions. He couldn't let it go. And that was when he signed...
And she was blinded by...
her love for him.
And you can have female characters like that when they're not the sole female character.
Yeah. And that was... And so she died and he was carrying her away. Yeah, very... Yeah. And then Guy Talk shot him twice.
it really took some coaxing.
It did, yeah.
Ratala was like,
this poor widow is like, kill him.
She was like, she had gone full Power Rangers villain. Like,
it really was. It was awesome.
I loved it, but it was actually very beautiful. Rick, I loved his shirt, the pink and purple. Yeah, really but it was very beautiful. Him dying with Chelsea face down in the water. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Oh boy, the Ratliffs. Let's start with the younger ones first, because Piper and Lachlan come back from the center.
I kind of like that she sucked. Everybody has really, as I say on my show to people that I need to be watching us, but I'm like, the fans have really been annoying me this season with some of their shit. And I don't know. There was a couple of things that I was like, I think she's
I couldn't fully read which way it was going to go. I didn't think it was going to be what Victoria thought. What I thought it was going to be is that Lachlan was going to insist more on staying, and she was going to be like, oh, well, you took my thing. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want it now that someone else does. Like, or it was going to be a, calling Victoria's bluff. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to do this just so that you'll pay attention to me and be like, Piper, no. But it turns out she's just as shallow as the rest of them.
I mean, she did have the decency to be distraught.
She was
distraught about it.
She was pretty bummed out about her shallowness.
And she was, in her defense, she was like self-aware.
Yeah.
Like she was very aware of her privilege.
But the other thing too that I actually really appreciated about Victoria is she was like, we are very blessed. And she said the thing where she was like, we live a better life than even the kings and queens used to. Like, no one else has ever lived a better life.
I can't remember, like, there's a thing that is said where it's like anybody, if given the option to live as royalty 400 years ago, or a 2-bedroom apartment in New York City.
Now.
Like,
yeah.
No one's picking the...
But I loved especially the part that she said where she was like, what's actually bad is to not enjoy it. To not enjoy the privilege. And I think that's fine advice as long as you acknowledge the privilege also.
And act on it.
Yeah.
Do something with it.
Well, there's nothing to say she doesn't do philanthropy.
Yeah, do something. But I'm just saying that. Do something with it. But
so
I do like that notion that there was a sageness to Victoria.
I've never thought she was an idiot.
No.
Just said out of touch. Mm-hmm. And so the other thing, too, is Lachlan was like, I think I'll wait until, like, we're back and Mom's back on her meds to tell her. And that's when Piper also was like, don't make me be responsible for ruining your life. Like, I'm not. This is ridiculous. So he's out with Piper. He's out with Saxon because they have like a talk about it. And he fully admitted, you were just laying there so like alone. And all you care about is getting off. And I'm a people pleaser. So I just did it.
It was wild. Lachlan was hurting my feelings this entire episode. Because,
but also that's such an insane reason.
But once again, I think that there's a weird, upsetting honesty to it, and I think that's what we're all reacting to.
Yeah,
and the demon twink angle, that's an active role.
Sure,
that's a very like, I am a chaos entity, and or maybe not even chaos, but it's like he had a want and a desire when we're taking that angle to be that sort of lost,
passive,
and awash.
Yeah,
that you jerk off your own brother on a whim because you think it might be what it may be. I mean, it's not something that you do unless you're certain that you're both on the same page.
I'm just gonna try to jerk off my brother.
But it just, like, I was like, oh God, he has no idea.
So that's
he has no idea who he is or what he's trying to do.
And it's really interesting, his placement in this family, because he is the baby, so you'd think he'd be really doted on. But I think Victoria and Timothy are both kind of like done.
Well, you already said the heir and the spare. Like,
well, and he is that as well, but also I think he's just lonely because he is like especially at the beginning, he is a bargaining chip between Piper and Saxon, but then as they both kind of like get tired,
they also cut
of him.
They were weird in this episode. I didn't like it.
With each other?
Yeah, not in like a creepy way, but they like
They don't have anything in common.
But it was like once he was no longer a bargaining chip. Like once he was on the rocks with both of them, they sort of were. It was only one scene before they went to dinner or something.
Yeah.
But it was because she was making fun of him for the book.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I didn't like it.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not a good family dynamic. So, Pam comes by to try to return the phones, and Timothy's still like, no thanks. And then he asks about the fruit. The seeds are very poisonous. I looked up the symptoms. It sounds truly awful. It's like a heart thing, like a cardiac thing.
We had like a whole discussion about it because I was like, I can understand in Timothy's like warped several ways over perspective how he might think that he was doing his family a favor in this annihilation. But I was like, poison can be gnarly.
Yeah.
I mean, you really want to do that?
Well, so what's interesting to me is that by that point, he had a conversation with all of them. He talked to Victoria, and I'm not meant to live an uncomfortable life. And he talked to Saxon, and Saxon was like, my entire identity is wrapped up in your shit. I can't live without this. And then Piper had her breakdown about not being able to stay at the Buddhist temple. And so when he asked Lachlan, do you think you could live without money? And he was like, yeah, probably. He then was like, you're not 21, so no poison pina colada for you.
But also, like, the logic's faulty. Like,
super faulty.
Wait a midsummer, you're poor.
Like,
your poor youngest son.
So he's going to wake up and you're all going to be laying in your own sick, cardiac arrested.
Yeah.
And he's going to be the only one. So then he can't go through with it, but he leaves the residue, or like a chunk of it and the residue in the blender. And so because no one is paying attention to Lachlan and nobody is using him as a bargaining chip anymore, he makes a fucking protein shake in the morning and downs the whole goddamn thing. And then he is feeling super sick when the rest of them leave for breakfast, except for Timothy, who's still inside. And we did get a whole ass death scene for him. I might have preferred if he died.
I think he should have died.
I might have preferred.
It felt tacked on. I wonder if what we saw is the original cut.
Or if they were like, it's too sad.
I don't know. Yeah,
I just feel like there's a poetry to him dying as well. Like there's
because they didn't pay attention to him.
He wasn't necessary.
He was a wash
in the family. Yeah. And he's the only one who could live without money. According to himself.
I said it felt very Greek.
Yeah.
Especially him being so, the beautiful youth.
Of course.
Strucken down.
Yeah.
And actually a really fantastic outing for Sam.
Really good.
I said, I was like, considering that this is his second role, that this was a heavy role to take on.
A heavy ask, a big ask.
And I think he did it. And like I said, I'm curious if this was as written. Because there were a couple things. One of the things I actually was going to say was that apparently there was a few more things about Lori's child being non-binary.
Yeah.
And after the election, Mike White was like,
there's no bandwidth to address that.
He was like, as written, we haven't done the topic enough service.
Yeah.
So they cut it, which I think
that was smart.
Yeah.
I would love to see him tackle something like that, but I agree that it would not have been served by this, especially with the way that everything worked out. I don't know. I guess I'm glad that he didn't die, but I wouldn't have been surprised, or I wouldn't have hated it if he did. And then everyone's on the boat.
Considering this was an hour and a half long episode, and that one of the complaints or one of the criticisms of the season has been that it was slow. The Ratliff's story, especially at the end, felt rushed.
Yeah, a little, yeah.
Like we just cut to, he's okay, and now they're on the boat, and
well, they got all their stuff back. I did like that Timothy admitted, like he basically was like, a lot of stuff's about to change, but we're gonna get through it together. And Saxon seemed like the only one who was like looking at notifications about it right then.
There was a slapdash quality to it that I'll say it one more time.
Yeah,
I'll say it one more time. I'm curious if that's how it was always intended to be.
Yeah, I agree.
Or if there was notes or rewrites or something.
Sure. But yeah,
I still enjoyed it. Yeah. I'm fine with it. Like I said,
I think season 2 is still my favorite. But
for sure.
But this was awesome.
And also, seemingly Mook and Guy Talk are fine.
Yeah, because he's a bodyguard. So
I like that she was kind of just this giant red herring.
No, she really was.
She didn't do anything.
She really, really was. And I also...
It's a good use of a stunt cast.
It is. I also just think it's so funny.
And Jenny was great. Or Lisa.
How much she was like, I just really thought you had more ambition than that. If you really loved me, you'd kill a man. And then he did. And I'm just like, okay, I guess.
Again, if that were the only female character, I would be complaining about the writing.
I don't know. It's kind of like Cameron Diaz in The Mask, right? No, super funny, super good. I really liked it. We didn't really
say, but I'm impressed with Saxon's character. It seems
he did seem like he was having some growth.
Certainly on the pathway.
Yeah.
I don't know that I want more of him or think they need to find some way. I like how they've been doing this. I like that some characters carry over and or more so that there is the potential for it. Yeah. But I don't want them to lean on that.
Right.
Or maybe I do. Maybe go all in. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't. I just I wouldn't want another season where Gary's at the next place that Belinda's working.
I'm done with Gary.
Yeah, I'm done with Gary. I think that was a really fitting end for Gary.
Mm-hmm.
I think he did what he wanted to do. And because even Belinda was he said he felt like it was giving the money to Tanya too. Mm-hmm. And everything feels like a really nice, neat bow with Gary. I feel like we can definitely be done with Gary. So
I would say if we were gonna get more, I would say potentially more Belinda.
Yeah, I think Belinda is an easy one to keep filtering through.
I also feel like they could maybe bring one of the girlfriends back.
I feel like it'd have to be Jacqueline. She's the only one with that amount of money. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll get more Piper. She'll just lean all the way in. Ski Bunny. I'm really voting for...
You want
I want ski.
Do you want like Scandinavian or Switzerland?
I was thinking, Swiss Alps. A Swiss Alps après ski.
Well, I know that they filmed...
Stad.
The White Lotus is the Four Seasons.
Yeah.
So anywhere with the Four Seasons. Yeah. And so I think it would be hilarious to go to Orlando and just do a really tacky, Disney people.
That would be hilarious.
Get the hot dad and the baby that want to go to the Four Seasons Orlando. all in all,
yeah.
Season 2 is still my favorite, by a decent amount. I was gonna say by a lot. I really enjoyed this season, even though as I'm sitting now, I'm a little bit whelmed by the finale.
Some of the endings, yeah. Especially because it's once you get to the ending and once you know it's Rick and Chelsea, you kind of are oh yeah, that was inevitable. Mm-hmm. No matter what my other theories were, it kind of had to be that.
And like I said, I don't hate. I don't hate.
Not
everything has to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
And we're in that place now where everybody thinks that they have to come in and redefine what the genre is.
Yeah.
And
I will say I'm really glad Rick died also. Whew. If it had only been Chelsea, I would have been furious. But yeah. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good. If anybody's made it this long, starting next week, but probably a day or so late, we will be covering The Last of Us. I plan to rewatch the season this week so that one of us is fresh on it. But we will be late because next Sunday we're going to see Kylie Minogue.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we're finishing True Blood season 3. Teen Wolf season 5 is coming around the corner.
And then Desperate Housewives season 2.
We've started that finally.
Yeah.
Finally.
And that's the roster for now. I know there's other TV shows coming sooner than later, so we'll get our schedule nailed down as release dates are received. So, yeah. All right. Like and subscribe. Bye.